everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my channel, welcome to my studio. The title of today's video is Why You Should Never Let Your Husband Look Over Your Shoulder, brackets, while you paint, or indeed do anything else, come to that. This was inspired by a comment on my channel today. And while I'm talking, I'm going to get ready to paint a painting today. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using, and you can check in the description below if you want any information about what it is. This is my test painting here, which I have just done. It took me just a few minutes this morning, and so I put it there because it's kind of pretty. I'm going to be using these Kuretake Art Nouveau paints. And I'm going to use, not this one, but this one. This is a Paul Rubens quill brush, which has a nice sharp point and a very full body there, which holds a lot of water. And it can be a little bit difficult to control. I'm not very good at using them yet, although I've had them for years. Not these particular ones, but I've had others for years and years. But I kind of, when I use them when I want to sort of let things flow, go loose, be expressive, and so on and so forth, because they're much harder to control and therefore more fun. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use a relatively big piece of paper. I'm going to start in the center and I'll go out as far as I want. I don't have to fill the whole piece of paper, and the paper's not expensive, so it doesn't matter if it gets wasted and I throw it away at the end. But I won't, because I never throw anything I do away, no matter whether or not I'm pleased with it. I just keep everything. Luckily, I have enough space. If you don't have enough space, then I suggest you use it to light your fires with. Anyway, going back to this comment, right? I just wanted to say that I think it's very inhibiting if your husband comes up to you while you're painting and looks over your shoulder and says things like, oh, yes, well, I can see that you need to play around a bit more with that. Or whatever he might decide he's going to say, or whatever anyone is going to say, come to that. Because you know what? We paint for ourselves. By the time we get to our age, which might be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, tick off the decades, could be any age. By the time we get to any age, we do not want to be watched, do we? I don't want to be watched when I'm painting. I don't like it at all. I have no objections whatsoever to painting for a channel, for a video for you. That's absolutely perfectly fine. I'm just going to put this one that I did before in front of me so I can kind of follow it. But I don't like people to... And one of the reasons why is because when you do a painting, if you do something like this, it doesn't necessarily look very good. When you're halfway through, often you think to yourself, that's kind of me. I'm going to pick up some pale pink to start with and begin this flower. She'll sit down as well, actually, as long as I can see that you can see. You don't need to see the browns, so that's okay. And I'll just move that across a little bit so you can see the greens too. Won't be using this lot here. I've got some paper towel here, which I thought I might use instead of my ugly mug mat. Right, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of this pale pink, test it out there. And I'm going to just start with some big petals in the middle here. A lot of flowers have 5 petals, so we'll do that. There's a hair come out of that. That's not good, is it, Paul? Thank you. That's the first time that's happened, actually. It won't happen again, I don't expect. And I'm going to just round off the petals a little bit. Roughly, though. And we'll try and make them different sizes. And that's a pale pink. And I'm just going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson to that. Make it a little bit darker. And then I'm just going to dab a little bit of that in there. This is going to be a super quick painting, by the way. This is not going to take very long. And so then I'm going to put another rose over here. This is not an original, no, that's the wrong word. This isn't what you would call the first time this painting has ever been painted. I should have got rid of that hair because it's cropped up again. You know, this is a kind of painting that people paint all the time. So I'm playing around actually with this brush because it's interesting to see how it works. So we've got 2 pinks. Now we need a kind of peachy colour. So I'm going to pick up a bit of lemon yellow, mix it with the alizarin crimson and the pink that I used before. And that will give us a kind of peachy colour. And I think I'll put that up here, a little bit of that up there, right? And then we'll make it a little bit yellower, and we'll do another one down here. So as I was saying, paintings go through ugly phases, don't they? We all know that. And the last thing you want is when your painting is looking at its worst, is for someone to come up and say, yeah, well, it's not as nice as the one you did last week. We all have a right to what you could call privacy, I suppose. And even from I don't let my husband watch me paint, ever. And luckily for me, he has basically no interest or understanding of anything artistic. He is a Philistine, a complete Philistine, which is fine by me. I don't need his approval at all. You might think that sounds terrible, but it's the only way. It's the only way, really. It's the only way to do it. A bit more pink. I have no idea how this painting is going to turn out at this stage. But one thing I am doing is trying to let the water do the work, and I'm kind of letting it go with the flow and leaving spaces in between these floral elements so that I can put leaves and other kinds of foliage in there. And I think that's actually I read that somewhere recently. It's quite a useful tip. So I might put a bit of yellow here, something. Okay, having got that far, we probably want to start thinking about the leaves. So I'll turn this around and we see the greens. The nice thing about the Art Nouveau set, as I think I've said before, is that all the colours sort of harmonise with one another, so you can't really go very far wrong. Having said that, I don't know whether to dry it. I might just put down a few very pale leaves and then and let them meld a bit with the colours underneath. And then I'll paint over the top of these ones, you see. Well, that sounded a bit conceited, didn't it? I didn't mean that to sound like that. Do you ever do that? You say things and you think, oh, I didn't mean it to sound like that. I do it all the time. According to my husband, I can't say anything right. It's very negative, very hard to handle. I'm always in the wrong. And I hope he doesn't listen to this video, or if he does, he won't understand it anyway. When I'm talking about him. I wanted to say another thing. Not all art is public, right? Just because you've painted something doesn't mean to say you have to share it. And I think that's one of the good things about sketchbooks, which seems to have temporarily been forgotten, that a sketchbook is not a public work of art. A sketchbook is something for you, yourself alone. You're not compelled to share your sketchbook with anyone. And although some people call themselves sketchbook artists, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with being a sketchbook artist, but that is not the original function of a sketchbook. That's where you did your preparatory work, which was for you and you alone. And yeah, so now it's become an art form in itself, and people like Helen Wells, for example, and her stuff is great. She's majored on sketchbook art. It's fine, but you don't have to. You don't have to have a sketchbook for other people to see. No, you don't. I'm mixing a kind of sludgy green there with some quinacridone gold, which gives quite a nice darker green. And I'm just painting over the top of the leaves I put in first of all, and then dropping more dark in where it's still wet. And I'm not really paying much attention to my composition. I'm just trying to paint intuitively, if you know what I mean. And where it's light, putting a little bit more dark. I admire those kinds of painters who can look at a bouquet and replicate it petal by petal, stem by stem. But I can't do that. C'est pas ma chose. It's not my thing. So I hope I've explained why I called this video, why you should never let your husband look over your shoulder while you're painting. I'd be very interested to hear what people think about that. A while ago, I did an online tutorial for a lady who was majorly inhibited by her husband. And he was a darling. He was trying his hardest to help her, but I think he was terrifying her. Right, I'm going to, I need to put a bit more, another layer in the middle there before I ruin everything I've done. So I'm just going to dry it. Okay, I'm going to go back to that pink. You might be tempted at this point to change your brush for something smaller, but I'm resisting that temptation myself because I wanted to use this brush all the way through. We let that dry, and we'll put some more colour on all of the flowers that we've done, but basically the same colour for each of them. I don't mean that, that's not what I meant. I mean whatever colour it is that you painted it in the first place, add some more of that, right? So just a little bit. And when it's dry, it won't notice that you've added. And this one needs a bit more. And this one. Keep it loose. And this one up here. It's not pink enough. You might want to put a few more pink ones down here. And then I need some really dark green, because we need to put in a few. Now, I might need to actually think about this a little bit. They don't need to be much. Yeah. And maybe a bit over here. I'm going to stop in a second because I didn't want to paint for more than 10-15 minutes today. And I'll let it dry and then I'll decide whether or not I need to do anything else to it. But, oh yes, I've forgotten something. There's one thing I have to do before I need to dry it again because I need to put the stamens in here. Okay, so I'm just going to mix up a bit of kind of pale orange apricot for the stamens. So that's alizarin crimson and lemon yellow. And I'll just use the tip of the brush where we've got the point. And we'll just bring in some stamens. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you didn't mind me having a bit of a rant. I'm going to add a little bit of darker to that down the bottom, I think. The thing is, the point why we're here on the planet is to create, you know? That's our role on Earth, is to create. It doesn't matter what we create. Art, food, love, peace, health, anything, doesn't matter what. But if you've chosen art, then you just need to paint. You need to paint or draw or do art in whatever way, you know, make pots, doesn't matter what, just do it. And know that you're firstly making the world a better place, and secondly, helping yourself cope with the world that we have inherited, for good or bad. So that's my message for the day. I hope you don't mind me sharing that. Okay, I'm going to leave that now. And the information for the things I've used is in the description below. You can go to our website and download all sorts of goodies over there, dianeantone.com. We also, if you go to Amazon, and go to amazon.com/shop/Diane Antone Studio, you will find all the things that I use on a regular basis all listed there. And if you go to Amazon via one of our links, whether you find it in the shop or whether you find it from our description on this video, we are benefiting then from a little bit of commission from Amazon, which is a very important part of our income, which is what enables us to be able to carry on, which we intend to do until I draw my last breath. I hope to be drawing my last picture the same day, which hopefully won't be too soon. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so I'll let you go. Have fun with this one and don't let anyone look over your shoulder. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.